My beloved brothers and sisters, when we speak about balancing Deen and Dunya, the very first step is to truly understand what success actually means. Many people grow up with the idea that success is measured by how much wealth you accumulate, the kind of house you live in, the car you drive, or the position you hold in society. And while these things are not wrong in themselves, they are not the ultimate definition of success. If that were the case, then some of the most powerful and wealthy individuals in history would have been considered the most successful. Yet many of them left this world with hearts empty, restless, and unsatisfied. Success, in its purest sense, is when your worldly achievements are accompanied by a heart at peace with Allah, when your career, your studies, your family life, and even your personal goals are aligned with the pleasure of your Creator. You see, Allah never said that wealth, education, or progress is wrong. In fact, we are encouraged to strive and to work hard. But at the same time, we are reminded that everything we strive for should never distract us from our purpose. The Quran says, "Do not let your wealth and your children distract you from the remembrance of Allah." That one line shifts the entire definition of success. It tells us that yes, work for your dreams, love your family, pursue your education, build your business, but do not allow any of these to take you away from the one who gave them to you in the first place. That's the balance. When you wake up every morning and your first thought is not just, how do I make more money? But rather, how can I please Allah today? Then your heart begins to see the bigger picture. When you go to work, but you start your day with prayer, suddenly that work is no longer just about money. It's about fulfilling a responsibility that Allah has entrusted you with. When you study but you intend that this knowledge will help you serve others, then even your studies become worship. This is where true success lies. It is not an either-or situation. You don't have to choose between dunya and deen. You need to align them so that dunya becomes a stepping stone to your deen, not a distraction from it. Look at those who chase dunya alone without caring for their faith. They may have lived in luxury, but what happened when sickness struck? What happened when death came? The dunya could not save them. And then look at those who balance their worldly life with deen. They may not have had palaces, but they had peace. They had purpose. And they left behind legacies that inspire people even centuries later. So success is not about how high you rise in worldly ranks, but about how grounded you remain in your connection with Allah while rising. The real question we should ask ourselves is not, how much have I achieved compared to others? But how much of what I have achieved will help me when I meet Allah? Because the greatest success is walking into the hereafter with Allah pleased with you. If we want to understand how to balance deen and dunya, then one of the most powerful tools given to us is the intention, the niyyah behind every single action we do. Many times people separate their lives into two parts. One part that belongs to Allah, like prayer, fasting, charity, and worship, and another part that belongs to themselves, like work, studies, eating, or spending time with family. But in reality, Islam teaches us that every moment of our life can become an act of worship if the intention is right. This is what makes balancing both worlds so much easier, because suddenly the line between deen and dunya is no longer rigid. The dunya itself can become a means of earning reward if it is connected to Allah through intention. Think about it. When a person goes to work simply to earn money, the reward stops at the paycheck. But when that same person goes to work with the intention of providing halal sustenance for their family, of giving charity from their earnings, of avoiding haram means of income, then every hour spent at work becomes worship. The same action, the same job, the same daily routine, but the difference lies in the heart's intention. It transforms something ordinary into something extraordinary in the sight of Allah. Even small daily actions can carry weight. When you smile at someone, it is charity. When you feed your family, it is worship. When you sleep with the intention of resting to have energy to worship Allah better the next day, that sleep becomes an act of worship. This is how beautifully Islam integrates deen with dunya. It does not ask you to abandon your worldly life, but it teaches you to infuse it with purpose. Sometimes people think that balancing deen and dunya means dividing time equally, as if you must spend half your day in worship and half in worldly work. But intention shows us it's not about dividing, it's about merging. You could spend your whole day in worldly tasks, yet if your heart is connected to Allah and your actions are done for His sake, then you have actually spent your day in worship. And this is why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that actions are judged by intentions. Because what you carry in your heart determines whether something counts as just dunya or as deen as well. This realization is liberating. It means that no matter where you are, in school, at work, in the market, with friends, or at home, you have an opportunity to earn Allah's pleasure. You don't have to wait until you're in the masjid to worship Him. Your life itself becomes a prayer when your intention is pure. This is the secret of balance. It is not always about doing more, but about transforming what you already do into a means of drawing closer to Allah. And when every action is tied back to Him, then both your deen and dunya begin to align effortlessly, and you find peace knowing that every moment of your life counts for something eternal. One of the greatest ways to balance deen and dunya is by making Salah the anchor of your daily life. Prayer is not just a ritual or a habit we check off the list. It is the heartbeat of faith, the reminder that no matter how busy we get, we belong to Allah first. In the rush of work, studies, responsibilities, and ambitions, Salah is what pulls us back and keeps us grounded. It is the pause that realigns us with our purpose. If you allow your schedule to revolve around your prayer rather than your prayer revolving around your schedule, then balance comes naturally, because you are putting Allah where He deserves to be, at the center of everything. People often complain about not having enough time. They feel overwhelmed, as if the world is pulling them in all directions. But the truth is, the one who protects their Salah always finds barakah in their time. A person who prays 5 times a day may technically be spending more minutes in worship, but somehow their work gets done, their studies fall into place, and their responsibilities become manageable. Why? Because when you give Allah His due right, He gives you ease in everything else. Salah is not a burden, it is the source of relief. It is not taking time away, it is giving your time blessing. Imagine someone who chases after dunya all day long but neglects prayer. They may achieve wealth, but they lose peace. They may reach success, but they lose connection with the one who controls success. On the other hand, the one who stops to pray in the middle of the busiest days, reminding themselves, my job, my money, my goals, all of this is temporary. My connection with Allah is eternal. That reminder saves a person from drowning in the dunya. It brings balance to their heart, even if life outside is chaotic. When you make Salah your priority, you are telling the dunya that it will never own you. You are setting a boundary that no matter how important your meeting, your class, or your task, nothing is greater than standing before your Lord. And when Allah sees that you honor Him, He honors you in ways you cannot imagine. He puts contentment in your heart, He makes your path easier, and He blesses your dunya while protecting your akhirah. So balancing deen and dunya does not mean neglecting prayer for the sake of deadlines or praying only when it is convenient. It means that prayer comes first and dunya fits around it. Because prayer is not only an obligation, it is the fuel for your soul, the shield for your heart, and the anchor that keeps you steady in this ever-changing world. And when you hold on to it firmly, you will never lose your balance in this life or the next. One of the most practical ways to balance deen and dunya is through proper time management, because time is the most valuable gift Allah has given us. Every one of us receives the same 24 hours each day, yet some people manage to achieve so much while others feel like they are always falling behind. The difference lies not only in how we use our time, but also in the barakah that Allah places in it. When we use our hours wisely and seek Allah's blessing, what we can achieve in one day may equal what others struggle to do in a week. That is the beauty of barakah. It multiplies the value of your efforts. The problem many of us face is distraction. We plan to study, but we spend hours scrolling on our phones. We want to rest, but we waste precious minutes in gossip or useless talk. Slowly, the day slips away and we are left wondering where the time went. This is where discipline comes in. A person who values their time will guard it like a treasure. They will set priorities, cut off what is unnecessary, and make sure that their day includes space for both their worldly duties and their connection with Allah. Without that discipline, dunya takes over and deen gets pushed aside, leaving us restless and unfulfilled. If you begin your day with the remembrance of Allah, with prayer, with Quran, you will find that your entire day flows differently. That small act of giving Allah the first portion of your time brings barakah into every hour that follows. Even when you are working or studying, you feel more focused. When you give time to your family, you feel more present. And when you return to prayer later in the day, it feels natural because your heart has been connected all along. Time management in Islam is not just about planning. It's about aligning every moment with purpose. There is also wisdom in balance. Some people drown themselves so deeply in dunya that they never pause for worship, while others spend all their time in rituals but neglect the responsibilities Allah has placed on them, like earning halal, caring for family, or fulfilling promises. True balance is when you give everything its rightful share. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that our body has a right over us, our family has a right over us, and Allah has a right over us. Managing time with barakah means honoring all of those rights, not neglecting one for the sake of the other. So if you want to balance deen and dunya, start by looking at how you spend your hours. Ask yourself, am I wasting my time or investing it for both this world and the next? Because when you use your time wisely and ask Allah to bless it, you will find that you can achieve more with less stress and still keep your heart anchored to Him. And that is the secret to living a life of true balance. When we talk about balancing deen and dunya, one of the greatest mistakes people make is falling into extremes. Some feel that the only way to be close to Allah is to cut off completely from the dunya, leaving behind family, work, and responsibilities, thinking that isolation alone will bring them piety. On the other side, there are those who become so drowned in worldly pursuits, chasing wealth, fame, and pleasure, that they hardly remember their prayers, their values, or their purpose. Both paths are unbalanced and both lead to a life that is incomplete. Islam, in its wisdom, is the middle path. It teaches us moderation so that we neither abandon the world nor become enslaved by it. It is important to remember that Allah created us with responsibilities in this dunya. Providing for your family, pursuing knowledge, maintaining health, and working honestly are all part of your duties. Neglecting them in the name of worship is not true devotion, because Islam is a religion of balance. At the same time, immersing yourself so much in worldly matters that you forget your obligations to Allah is also a form of loss, because this dunya was never meant to be the final destination. The true journey continues beyond the grave, and the dunya is only a short stop along the way. Moderation means recognizing that every part of your life has a rightful place. You pray your Salah on time, but you also give attention to your studies or your job. You fast in Ramadan, but you also make sure your family is cared for. You spend time in worship, but you also rest and socialize in a halal manner. This is balance. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself lived this way. He worshipped Allah in the best manner, yet he worked, smiled, cared for his family, and guided his community. He showed us that deen and dunya can walk hand in hand if we keep priorities straight. Falling into extremes often happens when people forget the bigger picture. Someone may become so strict with themselves that they burn out, while another may become so relaxed that they lose discipline altogether. Balance, on the other hand, brings peace. It allows you to worship Allah while still enjoying the blessings He has given you. It allows you to prepare for the hereafter while still living fully in the present. It keeps your heart connected to the eternal while your hands fulfill the needs of the temporary. This is the beauty of Islam. It does not ask you to reject the dunya, nor does it allow you to drown in it. It asks you to walk the middle path with your eyes on the akhirah and your steps firm in the dunya. And when you learn to avoid extremes and embrace moderation, you discover that true balance is not just possible. It is the way Allah designed life to be lived. At the heart of balancing deen and dunya lies the constant remembrance of the akhirah. No matter how beautiful this world appears, no matter how many goals we achieve or how much wealth we gather, the truth remains that all of it will eventually fade. This dunya is temporary, fleeting like a shadow that passes with the setting sun. The akhirah, however, is eternal, and it is the place where every choice we make, every intention we carry, and every action we perform will reveal its true weight. When a person keeps this reality alive in their heart, their relationship with dunya naturally changes. They begin to use it, but not to be deceived by it. They begin to strive for it, but not to be enslaved by it. They see dunya for what it really is, a bridge, not a destination. When you remind yourself of the akhirah, the things that used to overwhelm you in dunya suddenly lose their grip. A small failure at work doesn't crush you because you know your worth is not tied to a position or a paycheck. An insult from someone doesn't shake you because you know true honor comes from Allah, not from people's opinions. Even the struggles you face, illness, loss, disappointment, become easier to bear because you believe that Allah will reward patience in ways far greater than dunya could ever offer. This mindset frees you. It allows you to live in dunya without being owned by it because your heart is attached to something far greater. Remembering the akhirah also makes your actions more purposeful. You no longer study just to pass exam. You study to gain knowledge that benefits humanity and earns Allah's reward. You no longer work just to make money. You work to provide for your family in a halal way and to give in charity. Even the smallest acts, like offering a glass of water or a kind word, take on immense meaning when you see them as seeds for your eternal life. Dunya becomes a garden where you plant, and the akhirah is where you will harvest. This perspective also helps when the dunya tries to distract you. Temptations lose their shine when compared to the everlasting beauty of jannah. The pain of sacrifice, waking up for fajr, avoiding haram income, lowering your gaze, giving up sinful pleasures, becomes easier when you know the akhirah holds a reward beyond imagination. You realize that every moment of discipline in dunya is actually an investment in eternity. And what could be more valuable than that? So, balancing deen and dunya is not about denying yourself the joys of this world, but about enjoying them responsibly with your heart fixed on the life to come. Because if you win dunya but lose your akhirah, you have lost everything. But if you secure your akhirah while using dunya wisely, then you have gained both. And that is the truest balance a believer can ever achieve.